All right. Can we get people to take their seats? Who was it that did the buzzer last time for Show Us Your Projects? We've lost the buzzer person for Show Us Your Projects. Who did the alarm yesterday or 2 days ago? Bert. Bert, would you mind helping us again? Sorry? You're strict. That's what we need. We also have another problem. We have quite a lot of projects, and I would suggest that we probably don't want to go more than an hour. So I think 10 minutes might be a little bit too long, which I'm sorry about, but what time is it right now? It's 6:30. So what time do we want to be out of here? 6:30, 7:30? Are we saying 8 o'clock we want to be out of here? 8 o'clock? Everyone's willing to do the duration? Okay, then we can... Okay, then 10 minutes it is, but it's going to be strict, right? And if you're next on the list, please queue up on the side so we can get people through the door, right? Okay, let's start.
Okay, thanks. How many of you know what Scratch is? Okay, so you are, I'm sorry, you are familiar with this program. So probably you also know that it's programmed in Squeak 2.8, so it's difficult to work with that. Okay, our group has been modifying this Scratch thing to work with hardware Arduino. Okay, so now we created some blocks, some new blocks for Scratch in order to program hardware Arduino. Okay, so the people who made this software is not here. Well, we are a team, but the main developers are not here because, well, I could say the truth, but they simply are busy. I mean, really, they are cowards. So they simply filmed a demo yesterday and asked me to do that, to do the presentation. So with no delay, I'm going to. It's even worse because the demo is in Spanish. So I had to tell you what's going on, but no problem. Okay, the demo is running. It's like 6 minutes, so I think... So Marina now is talking and presenting the program.
Hemos desarrollado un proyecto que permite conectar Arduino a Scratch y de esta manera hacer fácil la programación de esta plataforma abierta.
You don't hear anything? No problem.
Vamos a hacer una demostración
so she's introducing the project and the program.
Poder hacer que interactúen entre ellas.
Bueno, y como una pequeña demostración hemos usado dos placas. Una es un coche dirigido inalámbrico con
We have a wireless car, and this is kind of a remote. This is connected to the computer with an XB device, and this is a remote connected with an USB. These are two Arduino boards. I think it's 2009. Okay. So this will act as a remote for this car. But the programs, the software that's running this hardware is made with Scratch. And these blocks are new. These are the blocks we added to the Scratch image in order to do that. So first of all, she's going to connect the objects to the board, show sensor board, and then she will ask the sensor boards to search the board and connect to it. And then in these blue boxes, you see the lectures, the readings from the different sensors, the analog pins and the digital pins. Okay, I insist. The software that's that's running here is the one that are executing the robot and the remote. So we have two boards connected to the same computer and governed by different programs made with Scratch. The idea is that a kid could do that. Okay? So this is the remote. And here we have these three numbers that is the reading from the infrared sensors. So they start the program. And then you can see there's a button that switches on and off the robot. You see, it's this one. And the other button moves the robot backwards and forwards. So it switches on the robot and then moves back and forth. And the remote has an accelerometer that when it's moved, it's used to make the robot turn left or turn right. This is the vision from the web camera. The image from the web camera is not yet seen in Scratch. It's in another computer. But we are working on that.
O a la derecha. Y ahora veremos un plano.
When you push the buttons more than half a second, they are used to turn the camera to the right and to the left. Okay?
Perspectiva de la cámara.
And then you will see how the camera...
Que hemos conectado a este servomotor, lo que podemos hacer es girarla para ver por dónde está circulando nuestro robot. Y de esta manera podemos controlar el robot sin tener que tenerlo en nuestro alcance. También sería posible ver esta cámara directamente desde el programa Scratch. Esa es la idea original de conectar esta cámara aquí.
En la demo tenemos 3 visores de los 3 sensores que tenemos, 2 delante del robot y otro atrás.
So these numbers are the distance that different sensors are detecting. See this one, the one on the right? It's detecting the distance that Victor puts the hand in front of the sensor. And then also there's a light sensor that when there's no light, it switches on a small LED. And besides, it changes the screen in Scratch.
Además, tenemos puesto en la demo que se cambie el título de Light Off a Light On, que veamos para ver el estado del sensor.
So this light off, light on, it detects if there's light or not.
Y además se enciende y se apaga el LED, tapando el sensor con un capuchón de boli.
A continuación podemos ver un pequeño detalle de los componentes que hemos utilizado en caso de que queráis reproducir esta.
Scratch can be used to make presentations. I don't know if you knew it.
Una pequeña representación de las funcionalidades básicas de una placa de
Okay. So, this is a Smalltalk programming group here at City Lab. And finally, I just would like you to bear in mind that we've been working with Squeak 2.8, and where it exactly doesn't follow the semantics of a Smalltalk. Just try. Okay, that's it. I have nothing else to say. Okay, so
Next is Colin Putney with altitude. And Herman Leiva with environment should be preparing.
Okay. So I want to do a quick demo here of Altitude, which is a little framework that I wrote. I stole a bunch of code from Seaside and kind of worked on the lower levels a bit. And I've got here the standard demo for Seaside related stuff. So it's a counter, and you can click away, changing the state of the counter. But I want you to notice one thing. If you look at the URL, here's the state number 2. That's number 3. If we go back to number 2, the URL is the same. It's not advancing constantly like a Seaside application does. Also, call and answer works. If I have a little call to another component that has the count, and you can either multiply it or divide it by 10. So let's multiply it, and again, we have consistent URLs. Now, this is really useful because it means that essentially we have the usual Seaside ugly URL, but at least it's RESTful. You can cache that URL. You can, if you have multiple people using the website and they happen to be on a page that the state of your components is the same, they will have the same URL and they will share the resources of the server for that state of your component. So what that means is that you can get better server utilization because each individual application takes resources that are proportional to the size of your application, the state space of your application, if you will, rather than the number of concurrent users that you have on the site. Let's see here. Now, it's 20 bytes. It's a SHA-1 hash. I'm going to get into quickly how this actually works. So, if you look at the counter, it's got some accessors. It initializes to 0, and it renders just like a Seaside application would. But when the request comes in, there's an initial request that has the default state of the counter. When it renders, it registers these callbacks, and those callbacks are serialized to bytes and hashed, and they're given a URL based on that hash. So if you look at the URL here, that is the URL to take the counter in state 2 and increment it to state 3. If I go back, you can see that URL is the same. What it does is, when you get to that URL, it loads that callback from the serialized bytes, reinstantiates it, calls the callback, gets the new state of the counter component, serializes that, gets the URL for that, redirects the browser there, and again we get a new request coming in that says, please render the component at this URL. It fetches it again, reinstantiates it, renders it, and sends it off to the browser. So what you essentially have here is content-based addressing. The URL of a component is dependent on its state. The trick there is serializing callbacks, which is kind of hard. It also works with call and answer, so you have to serialize continuations, which is also a bit tricky. But it works. Now, the next thing I want to show is the architecture is such that you can specify different means of associating states, component states with URLs. So this serialization trick is one way of doing it. The other way you can do it is on the client. This has a quite a bit longer URL because the whole state of the application is in the URL. Nothing is stored on the server. And so when it gets that URL, it takes the UU encoded data there, gets bytes, deserializes that into objects, and either calls a callback or renders it or something like that. So this is a really stateless application on the server side, and URLs are very, very restful. And of course, in this case, we can say, well, the state here is really simple. The way it was being serialized there is unnecessarily complex. We can serialize it as an integer. And so you can write a custom, what I call a locator for mapping URLs into states for this application, which is very simple and just puts the number in the URL directly. Yeah. I made it so that in the case where you have a call and answer, it's difficult to express the call, the continuation and everything. So it falls back to the serialization trick and then jumps back into simple serialization when it's done. This can be done with forms as well. It's let's get another. Let's get a better. And the way that works is that as it's rendering, it notices when you go to a form element, it does like a sub-rendering of everything inside the form to generate the callback dictionary. Then it serializes that and generates a URL for just processing that form, not the entire page. And you get a URL for that form, which it puts in the action attribute of the form. So you can have two forms on your page with separate URLs that are, again, RESTful for processing those forms in particular. And it depends on, if you have conditional logic inside your form for, well, render this field or not, depending on something in the model, that will work out fine. So how much time do I have left? 2 minutes. Okay. Now, the counter demo is fine, but an actual application would be nice. So what I did was a little toy blog application, which is, the standard thing as well. Oh, I gotta start up the server here. There we go. And it's pretty straightforward. I wrote a custom locator that examines the state of the components and generates URLs that are straightforward and fairly clean. You can do a lot of the obvious stuff there. And you can see here the code for that looks very much like you would write in Seaside. So this is very early stages. I haven't written any complicated applications. I haven't actually done load testing to see if it in fact does scale better than Seaside, but I think the architecture is fairly solid. This is a proof of concept at the moment, but I think it proves the concept. I guess I've got about 30 seconds left, so any questions? Yeah. It's true. In that case, you'd want to do some sort of encryption, signing, something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure I would actually deploy that.
Okay, Germán Leiva with environments and Ricardo Moran should be preparing.
What? Habla en castellano. Puedo conectar la compu acá. Igual yo me metí, así que. Listo. This is working. Oh, great. Oh no. Ah, ok. Dejamos el otro cable y lo bajo la resolución. 800 por 600. 1024. Ok. Hi. My name is Germán. I'm not from Germany. Okay, well, what I'm going to show you is a project, part of the Google Summer of Code. I don't know if all are aware of this program, but the ESUG was one of the organizations that was participating in this program. And I'm glad that they gave us the opportunity to have this project. Well, this project, the name was Cross-Platform Namespaces. If you want more information, you can go to that link. My mentors, well, Shane Foster, Sean O'Keefe, they are here. Goran, that he can come to the conference. Okay. Well, the proposal was this whole idea of the namespace is already implemented in some dialects like Gemstone, VisualWorks, BA, but in other dialects like Squeak or Faro, there is no common approach. There are all proposals, but we want to have an implementation for our okay. Well, and in Faro and Squeak they doesn't have namespaces and they use prefix. You know, like in CISA you have the WA, and in Monticello you use the MC, and blah, blah, blah. Well, this is a workaround. We can have a lot of classes that have the same name, but with the prefix, we can solve this problem. But can be really cumbersome, and when one system get large, the collision will be much usual. Then why we need namespace? Well, the main reason is that one word can have more than one meaning. For example, if I say check, we can mean the bill of a restaurant, or that thing that you use to get money from the bank. And when we say date, well, you know, and that could be the calendar. Well, the project in Squixor, the name is environment, and there is a reference implementation. There is not ready for production, but we want to experiment in Faro. We want to, the community can give us a feedback. You know, we want to show some things. Well, you know, and the principles behind this project was not changing the syntax and have a full backwards compatibility, simple rule, high expressiveness, blah. Okay, and these are technical stuff. In this demo, I can show you more. Well, first, if you download the project from Squixor, you can get something like this, and you can have one more item in the work menu, the environment browser. Okay, well, this is, like I said, an reference implementation. I'm not a interface guy, and this is really awful, but can do the work. I will show you an example. For example, I can have an environment called Africa, and in this environment I can define a new class. For example, I will define a new class named elephant. Okay, this is an African elephant. And what happens if in a workspace I use the class elephant? What do you think? Well, there is no elephant class because I define it in Africa. The place where this elephant lives is Africa. Well, then how do you use the class elephant? Well, you need to politely ask the Africa environment that class, and that's the way you send a message, okay? But this is only a dictionary. This can work too. The elephant message is only a shortcut, okay? Well, what if we want another elephant? We have one class that the name is elephant. In the current, okay, you have a question? 4 minutes? Okay. Well, elephants. And well, you know, you can have another elephant class in Squig or Faro right now. In India? No, in Asia. Well, we can define another elephant class. Okay? That was the main reason. And we doesn't have an elephant class in the image, you know. We need to have to ask the Ash environment for that class. Okay? We okay? Okay. Well, pretty nice, okay. But we need to have a third object that use this elephant. For example, I will use this name that is beautiful, happy place. This is another environment, a happy place. And we can define a zoo in this environment. And, for example, ask for the size of the elephant in this zoo. Okay? What happens if I use this? I don't know. There is no elephant in the happy place environment. Are you following me? Okay. Well, elephant and happy place. Okay. This code is not working. Okay. We need to use an elephant from an environment. For example, we can use the Africa elephant, and then we can do this. Okay, ear size is not defined. And then we need to go to the Africa elephant and define the method ear size. You need to trust me, the African elephant have really big ones. Well, then if I go to this workspace and I write zoo, new elephant ear size, what should happen? Okay, that's the. This is not working because zoo is defined in a happy place. We need to go to the happy place, and this is boring. Well, we can use a workspace in a particular environment. For example, we can use a workspace in happy place. Okay? This workspace is the workspace for happy place. And in this environment, I can write zoo right away, okay? And do the code. I think it's elephant ear size. This will return really big ones, okay? Well, but we have the Asian elephant. If this zoo change the elephant, he needs to go to this method and write Asian elephant. But we don't want to change the code. We want to change the environment. The common approach is using import. Okay, we can use import here. For example, we can say that happy place. We can add a shared environment. Okay, that's the name I use. And we can say happy place add shared environment. For example, Asia. Okay, I execute this, and if I remove this. In happy place, we know that happy place is using Asia and Smalltalk. Smalltalk is the Clover environment. And then, what will happen if I execute this code? Great. No. There are more things, and you can go to the page.
Gerardo Ricardo should be preparing for Squeak NOS, and now we have Ricardo Moran with Google Summer of Code Squeakland.
Sí, él me dijo eso. Siéntate, siéntate. Te lo digo al español. Wow. Mira tengo que pagar para que. ¿F5 o F6? Che, esto está ahí conectado. Sí. Ah, ahí veo. ¿Cuál es este? ¿Será? Yes. Well. Oh no. Nada. ¿Qué? Sí, yo no toco nada. Yo estoy viendo acá igual. Well, it's okay. I'm going to talk about my own experience in the Google Summer of Code project program. It's glad that I'm glad that Herman was behind me, because now I don't have to introduce the Google Summer of Code. Well, to begin with, my project was about improving, developing a set of tools for e-toys, such as scientific diagrams. Well, it was 7 items in the list. I will show them when the para que está trabajando aquel. Well, yeah, my life. No, my life during the Google Summer of Code program. I want to tell every student here, I really want to encourage everyone who is willing to participate in these programs, because it was a really great experience. I had the chance to work with a lot of the members of the ETOS community, like Bert and others. My mentors were Randall Caton from the education team of Squiggland, and he was really supportive. And I must say, for me, which I was very interested in this, but was actually really shy. I didn't participate much in the list and stuff. This was for me a very good chance of getting in, and the response I got, it was incredible, because everybody told me I was doing a great job, even though they criticized me a little, especially Bert. That was incredible, because I had a lot of fun, I learned a lot, and I can now have more confidence in speaking in mailing lists and stuff. Also, it was great from the Google Summer of Code program. I still don't have... Well, no, dejamos que trabaje ya. I had a lot of feedback from the community. I don't really actually work only with my mentors. I had educators testing my tools, writing documentation about them. Even though what I did, a really small portion of it actually got into the release, which is going to be in 2 weeks, I think. There's a reason for that. The educators wanted to include the speech bubbles, which Bert showed them. I will show them back now, and the scientific diagrams. But the scientific diagrams were not actually suitable for e-toys, the way they were designed. And that's a big deal, because, wow, I can do this, but they're working there. Well, I am now trying. Let's see. If not, you can come here and see from here. There's no problem. En el ordenador. No, it's but this was working the other day. How much time do I have? 6 minutes. No problem. I can move faster. But the thing is, I really didn't prepare the presentation. I was going to show this stuff, a lot of projects, examples projects I did during the program, and they take a while to load out, because there we go. Well, this is eToys. Yeah, you know it. From here at the top, you have the address where you can find my work, and a lot of links and a lot of stuff. Yeah? I'm going to show you very quickly one of the tools. Here we have most of the tools. For instance, I made, this is boring. This is a calendar, which I think is pretty nice. You can change the month. You can select one, and you can find the information of the dates in eToys. It's interesting because we planned to do some things, but the actual development was the actual results were something else. This wasn't really planned, but I did it anyways, and I like it. I'm going to show now a project. Oh, I don't have a project which uses. Well, no problem. I'm still going to show something else. The graphing tools which I developed, they're over here, I think. And this is what I did, no? They allow the user to graph some diagrams, I think, and which I will show now with this. This project is actually really interesting. This was developed by Randall. The thing is, you see here, there are two electric charges, and you can set the position of them using this table. And then you can hit apply, set, find max. Then now it's calculating some values, and then Randall make a script which plots an electric field. I think this is what my tool is meant for, right? I think this is a really cool project. Other thing I did, and this is also a project from Randall, is a spreadsheet which can read input from files and other stuff. Actually, it's only files now, but it will eventually be something else. The files are in CSV format, which is really simple, and we can import flares. Now, this is the solar flares for the moon. Well, you can read it here, and you can plot the flares in the graph. Well, that's also really nice. I'm having all the trouble. You can see here are the speech bubbles which were included in the next release, and I think they're really nice. And I made, for instance, this project, which is an oruga. I don't know how to a caterpillar, which is thinking of being a butterfly. And you can. The interesting thing is, you can make an object, say a text, a number, or even a complete object. This is an object, so I can change what the caterpillar is saying. I'm going to. So you see, no. Yeah, I did. Now, yeah. Because the caterpillar is really slow. But anyway, I made also a lot of other projects which I think they're nice too. This is an animation of a comic, which I really like. This is the stuff I like to work on. And I have another one. I present you Reginald and Bertato. Well, I don't know if I have a lot of other things. I have the part of the project was improving the translation support by splitting the POV files from the getText. Other part was including some of the integrating some of the Andras work on fonts, and there were a lot of other items. That part is actually boring. I didn't enjoy it really much, but what I did enjoy was trying to make the paint box of eToys a little better, because I don't like it very much. This is a work in progress. It's not done yet, and I don't think it's going to be accepted anyway. But I'm going to show you this. This can draw, of course. You can change the size of the brush. This is something eToys has. Or you can change the color. You can have alphas, which eToys does not have. Whoa. Let's make. the 15 segundos. And you can have undo and redo stuff. That's something I enjoy to do, the eToy Paintbox. Well, bottom line, participating in Google Summer of Code. This is really cool.
Quick NOS now from Gerardo, and Ian van den Sand with Seaside on EC2 should be preparing.
So, nice. Not very nice. Is it? Okay, great. No, that's not what I want to show. So, what I'm going to show you is how Squeak knows advanced from last year. As we were not really sure, but last year we announced that maybe 2 students were going to be doing their thesis. And they actually are doing their thesis, and through all this year they started and advanced a lot. Hernan over there is directing them. Squeaknose was not ready for developers other than the original group, because the tools, it's a Squeak, but the development environment was kind of hard because you had to boot from, you could use VMware, but you have to reboot every time you change the image because there was no way to save the image from inside the Squeaknose. So one of the first things we wanted to do is to improve that. So the very first things they did was to fix the keyboard, make the scroll on the mouse work, and all very little detail, lots of small details that help you work better and help them get used to the environment. Okay, so now I'm going to boot a Squeaknose. Usually I do the demos by rebooting my computer, but today I'm going to boot it on a VMware. VMware is kind of a computer emulator, so you're going to see the BIOS and group and then the Squeaknose booting, right? So this is it. So after, is it complete? Yeah, that's good. So after they fixed the small details on the environment, they went for persistency from the image. Last year we played, actually those who were, I think it was 2 years ago, in the small talks in Argentina 2008, I coded a very simple hard disk driver live on the stage, but that was like just live on the stage. That was not meant for use. So they recoded it, and then over that they coded FAT32, and so now we do have not only access to the hard drive raw, but we do have access to a file system. Okay, so we can see the files on the computer, on the FAT32 file system. That gave us first sources, so you can see the sources with comments if there's any. Well, you can see this is not decompiled code because that's in hex, so otherwise you get it. This one has a comment. So now we do have sources, and we also do have persistency, like I should be able to say things. Ah, true. And save it. Okay? And now it's saving the image. You know that saving the image from the Smalltalk itself is not trivial because, well, there is one detail for every Smalltalk. That's when you come back from a saved image. If you continue from the place where you left, you're going to save it again, right? Well, that's solved already in the Word. But our main problem is that the access to the disk is all written in Smalltalk, and we have to save. We could save more, but let's say we are saving segment by hard disk segment by hard disk segment. So if we, I'm gonna, that's a halt in the saving routine, but as it takes some time, I'm gonna continue when I speak. So while I'm saving every sector, the image segment is changing. And if I save one image segment and then continue changing the image, and I save a later image segment in memory, it's quite probably that the state will be incoherent between the two. The moment I save the two, what was that? The two segments, the two disk segments. Okay, so we needed to do something with that. The first and very easy solution is to have a primitive that gives back a copy of the whole image in a byte array. And so we then save that copy of the image while the real image is changing. That's the easiest solution. We're probably going to go further. Apparently it's saved already, so now if I reset the computer, we should see that when we boot. Now, that was... Thanks for the left. that was just to save the image, right? But this is very important for the project. But they wanted to go a little bit farther to do something else for their thesis. So what they wanted to do is do some kind of memory management. Okay. So I saved the image from inside. It is working. It is working. It is not my credit. Okay. It's Javier Pimas and Guido Chari. That's the two guys working on this. So they wanted to go a little bit further and wanted to do memory management from in Squeak Notes we do everything in Smalltalk, and they wanted to do low-level memory management, like handling page faults. And so that's kind of tricky because when there's a hardware exception, you get an interrupt. But if you want to jump back to Smalltalk, you're going to be jumping probably in the middle of a bytecode, like while a bytecode is interpreted. We're not using code yet. So their idea was to use some kind of callbacks to go back into the VM. I thought that was completely not going to work, but I let them go ahead because it might work. So they imported Alien. We were using FFI before for foreign function interface. They imported Alien, and Alien has callback support. And they implemented a page fault handler that makes a callback back into the VM. And apparently it is working. So I just, while I was talking, because it takes a lot, I enabled paging on the processor. That took us a few more primitives to talk to the CR registers on the Intel processor. Install a page table that's pretty much the same we had, but now it's working. And now I can say computer current memory management directory at record at 30 and get the value from there. And that's the entry in the directory page directory table, whatever it is. Then I can change it to a new value that says the page is not present or is not writable, actually. And then I'm pretty much translating what they gave me to say, right? Access a memory address that now is not mapped and get a page fault where there's a halt. In the page fault handler in Smalltalk, they put a halt. Okay? Don't ask me. I'm just showing what they did. And now I can continue and step over the page fault handler, inspect the directories, the memory, do things that are completely impossible. Okay, while the system is running, okay, proceed. The debugger goes away and I can restore the system. and be done. Thank you.
Seaside on EC2, and Nick Agger and Tim McKinnon should be preparing.
Hello everybody. I wanted to show another way or an alternative how you can easily host your Seaside applications in the cloud. I want to show you how to start an image and have it up and running within 10 minutes. But of course, you need to see something. This one. This one. Yeah. Okay. This is the. Well, we start with the browser with the Google open. Because I only have 10 minutes, I pre-registered at the Amazon Web Services. I got an account. Oh. I did some preparation. I registered as a customer for the Amazon Web Services, so I already have an account. But now I'm going to start the console, which is just a website. Log in. This is a console to all the cloud services Amazon offers. We are going to be using the Elastic Computing Cloud. That gives you a kind of a virtual machine, not like Smalltalk, but like VMware, but in the cloud. Here you can look for virtual machines. They're called AMIs, Amazon Machine Instances. Well, there are about thousands of public AMIs that you can choose from. I prepared one with based on an Ubuntu installation with Apache and Faro Squeak virtual machine, a Faro core image, and the Seaside web framework. But every AMI has an ID. I have to look it up. It took about a week, but now the Amazon Machine Instance is officially published in the Amazon catalog of virtual machines, and this is the ID we need. So now we're going to search in all the instances to the actual instance we need. Takes a few seconds. Come on. Come on, Amazon, help me along. Well, no, you can. Yeah, probably, yes. or companies like IBM and Oracle also created public machine instances, but yeah, they say you have to have a valid license to make use of them. But there are also instances based on Windows, and yeah, when you run an instance, you have to pay. And a Linux image is, for example, 10 cents per hour, and a Windows image is 12 cents per hour. And then they made a deal. Okay, this is my image. There are a few details. Well, for us it's important. It contains Smalltalk and Seaside, so we can just launch it. This starts up a wizard where you have to have set a few parameters. Well, how many running instances do I want? Well, let's start with just one, but if I want, I could start 10. What kind of instance should it be? Well, this is they have 64-bit and 32-bit virtual machines, so I created a 32-bit thing, and I can choose between micro, small, and high. Well, small is the default, and I'll just use this one. Here you can set some detailed parameters, so I will skip. Well, of course, the thing, your image should be secured. You do that by logging in with a public and private key. Here I select one. You want your machine to be behind the firewall. They call that security groups. I just created a single default security group which allows traffic through port 80 and port 22. Okay, now the image is starting up, and this is a view of the running image. Now I have to be patient again. It takes about a minute to start up. Well, the image will get started, and Amazon will create a host name for me, but it will be a very ugly long host name. If I want to host something commercial, I want to determine the host name myself. That's also possible. The way to do that is to reserve an IP address. I already did that. I reserved this IP address, and then I went to my domain of name registrar and pointed my domain name to this IP address. And in a minute, when the image is started up, I can attach the IP, this static IP number, to the image, and then my host name will work. Okay, here it says the image is running. This is the domain name that was generated by Amazon. Usually, when the image is up and running, it's not immediately available, so we'll probably get an error. Oh, it's already up and running. Okay, this is just the default Seaside application I put on there. But I had a nice host name for it. That's this one. Yeah, now it won't work. When I go to the elastic IPs, set this one up and associate it. Yeah, that's number running. And it's actually Seaside. I'll start the most famous Seaside application. And it works. I'm probably out of time, but I could show you how you could... okay, I'll be really fast. Well, you need to manage the system. You can do that through SSH. Because you have a private key, you don't have to provide a password. It's really easy. But now I've also created a tunnel for VNC. So now we can actually have a look at the image. The default password is Seaside. Yeah, so this is tunneled through the SSH connection. So this is secure. That you must do that, otherwise it would be pretty unsecure. And now I have a look at the Faro image. I can load my own Seaside application and have it up and running within 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, Nick Agger and Tim McKinnon for a joint presentation, and Neil Ross should be preparing.
Do you have a key for the map? VGA. I have a VGA map adapter. So the other day I presented CFOX, which was just a side project for me. Today I want to present the actual main project I'm working on called Get It Made. I'd like to start off just by playing an animation that we've commissioned to try and explain what it is, what the site's about. If you could bear with me and watch it. Oh dear. Where is it? It'd be great if I could get your feedback later. Okay. Oh. Do we have sound at all? Okay, so I don't know if everyone really understood what it was all about, but the idea is you're an inventor, you have an idea, and you'd like to get it manufactured. And so the site, Get It Made, it brings together inventors, manufacturers, and discerning shoppers, and the idea that they can pre-buy an idea so the inventor doesn't have to risk the capital involved in outlaying an idea, and also they can test market their idea. And they get to keep their IP. So if you sort of remember on the animation, you saw the thermometer go up, and when the thermometer
basically when people have pre-bought enough of the particular invention, then it goes into manufacturing. The profits distributed to the inventor, and we take a very small cut. So there are key features. We're trying to, rather than just having a few people that make a decision about whether the project's worthy of getting venture capital, we're kind of democratizing it. The whole marketplace can decide. We'll do that. It's built on Pier 2, Seaside 3, jQuery UI, deployed in Gemstone. I don't know, I could probably give you a quick demo, but the screen's so small it's a bit difficult to really see. It doesn't seem to be, oh yeah. Okay. So you've got a whole series of different projects. You've got locations and search and nice stuff from here, like tag clouds. And you can flip through, and so there's information here for users to decide if they want to buy the product. You can rate it and so on. So YPA, it's got great content management. Obviously, it does RESTful URL handling, user permission and management. It's got fantastic add-ons. You've got a blog built in, Twitter, tag cloud, search, all that kind of stuff. Few other quick things I thought I might demonstrate that have come out of the project. So those of you who build Seaside and don't know about jQuery widget box, it's a fantastic resource. There's some great jQuery plugins in there. So for example, here are a few I've done. Bubble tip, as you roll over you get nice bubbles over the top. Cycle, you've already seen, it does nice transitions, and there's all sorts of different transitions there. Stars, you can rate things and so on. And the plan is to launch by the end of September 2010. Okay, so that's get it made, and now Tim and I would just like to talk about our experiences of Camp Smalltalk London.
So Camp Smalltalk London, organizers, there was Julian, Giovanni, Gary Chambers, Nick and myself, and other members of the UK Smalltalk group. It was a very kind of group activity. Just want to thank PineSoft for organizing it in their wonderful offices. You can see they're beautiful. The vision was to just build local community, work on some code, try out some ideas about including groups and getting them organized and having some fun. And London's gone all green now, so we're all about bicycles. We didn't think that we'd have many participants. We thought it'd be a bit low-key, but we could maybe get a few names and it would be successful. And the reality was it quickly filled up, actually. It was beyond our wildest dreams. We got very good feedback from sponsors. We enjoyed planning it with our local peers. The picture in the corner was one of the PineSoft machines was for scanning. It was mentioned earlier, and we scanned people's faces with it. It was supposed to be for scanning envelopes, but we scanned people's faces, so it was a bit of fun. Lots of different projects. We tried to get them all sort of written out on a flip chart and get people to organize around that. We had a track for newcomers, and we tried to have timeouts, and James Robertson filmed a lot of it with us. What we learned, there's definitely interest for new Smalltalkers. We thought it would just be old Smalltalkers, but we had 8 new Smalltalkers at that session, and we hadn't even gone and solicited our friends. These are some of the things that we learned, just having food delivered, so that we appreciate the sponsors' help with that, and it kept people together, so rather than disappearing, we kind of kept the continuity. It was a weekend, so it was easy. We used Eventbrite to organize it. If you've not heard of Eventbrite, it's really easy. Manages lists of people for you, and you can announce the event, so that was very good. Name badges are great, but you should do them double-sided. I noticed that we've got the same problem here. In fact, stickers are probably easier. You can just stick them on your shirt. So, tutorials, we thought we wanted to keep them to half a day. They went longer. We felt a bit bad about that. And we thought maybe we should have done a show us your projects. I think it's worth having an introductory exercise because there are new people in the community and want to learn about it. And I just think we were kind of overwhelmed, and I would encourage other people to really try and organize one, make it fun. There's a lot of interest still worldwide, and I think we need to be better at communicating small talk and teaching things. And I think that's about it, really. And I think we've just got a minute and a half to show. We had a beginner's exercise where we got people to kind of learn a little bit about small talk. So we'll try and show you as much as we can. We're kind of short on time here, but we'll, we really wanted to kind of show people a little bit of syntax, and so we used the Prof. Steph piece that's in Faro. It was very good. It worked quite well. I think we would take out a few of the slides. Some of it is a bit too detailed with Prof. Steph, but the people that in the tutorial, they kind of got the idea of it. And then we quickly threw them into building a little Seaside application. We didn't teach them Seaside in so much as we were teaching them about iterating through collections and building something cool. And so Nick's going to try and just bring it up here.
So where are we? So the idea was, so it went out and got some traffic information from a web service. And the first exercise was simply to iterate over a collection. So here we see one item. And the idea wasn't for them to learn Seaside, but both Tim and I know Seaside better than Morphic, so we chose to do something in Seaside but hide all the Seaside stuff behind some render methods. So they have to render a list, and then we have different renderers very quickly.
Just load up the final bit. So the idea was to build a kind of a mapping application. So if you're interested, you can download it. It's on Squeak Source if you want to use it as a basis.
I'll just take it off. It's all right.
Neil Ross with ESUG 4 and Arthur with Swixo by Oxius should be preparing.
We got an old Mac connector, an old Mac VGA connector, a power button.
This one not old, but does this one go on?
No, yours hasn't got the newer.
This is weird.
Yeah, you need the other connector.
Okay, do we have an old? Sorry, I think we have a. Oh, it's coming. Thanks. What's happening?
Displays then.
System preferences.
To the displays.
There we go. Okay, briefly, ESUG 4.0. You may already be using it without realizing it. It is now in all those locations. It will be in BSE shortly, thanks to Leandro Caniglia and Valeria. Oh, right. Hi. I shall now keep you all entertained. Okay, so basically, thanks to everyone, more people than are named here, who helped me do all the porting. So what should you expect? Well, first of all, the pure version is ported to every dialect, and that means that if you are using your test to guide a port between dialects, you always have the option of going to the pure S unit, running your test in the old dialect, verifying they're fine, going to the new dialect, verifying that they're not fine, and at least knowing that it's nothing to do with any possible difference in the framework. Obviously, we have also ported it into the normal style of S unit for that framework. So in Faro, there is one that has all the bells and whistles that Faro people like. in Smalltalk X. There are some of the bells and whistles that Smalltalk people like. Elsewhere, people have largely stuck to basic SUnit, and so it is basic SUnit. But I strongly encourage anyone who has anything that's been forked off SUnit pretty well since the year 2001 is almost certainly based on the prior version 3.1. So please port with the diffs. If you have any problems, contact me. If there's any reason why there's an obstacle with that, tell me, because I should not be changing this in any way that causes anyone difficulties. What has changed? Test resource was horribly broken in 3.1 and earlier, and I think very few people tried to use multiple test resources, and not that many people used one. Now, a test resource, if you have a test resource that connects to a database and some resources that add data to the database, then when you come to tear down your test resources, it will tear the data out of the database, and then it will disconnect from the database. It will not, as previously, tear down the database and then try to tear the data out of it, which kind of never worked. You are guaranteed that things are torn down in the right order, and like test case, if you enter the setup of resource, you're guaranteed it will call teardown. Previously, you could enter the setup of resource, and if it failed, it did nothing. You were just left in a mess. Another thing I've done is I've made sure that test resources and test cases understand the same thing. So if you're moving code from the setup of your test case to the setup of your test resource, then you will not have to rewrite it. I've made sure that test resources are available just in time, and made a few other changes. The bottom line is now moving behavior between tests, cases, and test resources is about trading isolation for performance. It's not about a functional change. It's not about radical differences. And above all, it's not about suddenly having the framework throw a debugger up at you and saying, gosh, I wonder what you should do now, which it was in the old days. It's meant to be absolutely just making that decision. Test isolation is good. You should never use a resource if you can avoid it, but sometimes you have to. If the choice is between using resources and not running your tests because they're too slow, then obviously there's no doubt what happens there. The other thing I've done is I've done work to improve pluggability. Run case now dispatches on the exception. That basically means that it's the test failure that knows I have been raised, so I should add a failure. It's an error that knows some kind of error has occurred, I should add an error. So you can plug in your own specialized subclasses and have specialized behavior. If I swap around here and just show, so for example, I've created a subclass called test skip, and if I can make this slightly smaller, it has got big again, I did this, then you can see that I have a test that raises a skip here, and if I run it, no, you can't see because it's too small, but I'll make it big again. You can just about see that this thing now has run green. It knows it's passed, but it knows it also skips a test. Typical pattern, you have tests in your suite that you have to run on Macintosh, but they make no sense to try and run on Windows. So you don't want to run them, but you don't want to look red just because those tests were there when you ran your suite. And other patterns can be plugged in. There are also various trivial improvements trying to improve pluggability. Pluggability can get better. Logging has been sitting around with nothing done for a long time, and it can really get better. So I will try and improve that. Another thing is, for the future, one thing I know I'm going to do is ANSI has achieved some stuff, so we actually can throw away a great many of these SUnit selectors. Some dialects already have. Some have still got them, but I have verified we can actually start throwing all this stuff out. So some stuff that will for sure go, some stuff that will go unless anyone tells me they're using it. Okay, overall, therefore, SUnit core is trying to be the robust cross-dialect utility. Obviously, people will have variants. In each release, I'll be aiming to discover good ways of improving pluggability so people's variants can go into add-ons that don't affect the core. Obviously, people will keep on having ideas, and sometimes those ideas will be easily implemented by tweaking the core. So they'll be putting stuff back in, and it's a standard sort of XP process. First make it run, then make it right. You hack the core to do something you want, then later on maybe I see a clever way in which it can be an add-on that leaves the core pristine and untouched. Or maybe it's such a good idea that the Camp Smalltalk project says, great, let's do that in every dialect. Generally, therefore, we're love ideas, but the aim is to keep the core small and cross-dialect and backward compatible. And that's all I really have to say, basically.
Sometimes you have objects that you create in the resources.
That's an interesting point. Now, obviously, if you are more likely to get that in 4.0 than you were in 3.1, you hadn't hope. In 4.0, if you walk far enough up the stack, of course, you'll do it. And I happen to know where you need to walk to do it. If, of course, you restart inside where the framework does that, then you won't get that. And, okay, I think we have to talk offline.
Okay.
Come and talk to me afterwards about when that's safe and when that's not.
Okay.
Okay, hang on. Two more to go. Arthur with Suixo, if I'm pronouncing right. And Tuldad should be preparing.
This one? Yeah. So that would be a little bit that. So, yeah, it's not that long. Well, who am I? I'm Arthur van Schijnel, which is difficult to pronounce in English, so just do it in Dutch. Just some short introduction there. I worked in a company doing our own stuff, language, database, and that kind of stuff. Not small talk, just did our own stuff, creating a framework to do business applications. Worked quite well, but was very close, very, very close. And after that, when I became an architect there. Sorry. And when I became an architect there, I ended up getting bored because of all these meetings I had to attend. And then there was this customer coming to me, and he asked me to help him with his new startup care company. And I stopped my job and started working for them. And in the beginning, well, mostly I helped them in several ways, not only building the software. So, first few years I was mostly doing different stuff. I planned to do a lot of software development, but didn't come to it. But now I'm finally starting to do that. What I did was I couldn't use my old system; it was closed, so couldn't do that. It was in the contract, all kind of licensing stuff as we heard before. So couldn't use the old system, which would have been rather nice and easy for me. I tried. I was convinced I should do something with the open source stuff because I really hated the closed world. So, well, I was out in the open, so I tried several things. Tried Rails, didn't like it, and then I don't know why, but I came to Smalltalk and Seaside, and then I liked it. It was nice, and I started working with it. It was on the web, and you could find all kind of things you need to know. So I just went off and built this application. Actually, I don't think I did that many questions because, well, Google is my biggest friend in this case. If I want to know something, it's there. And so what I did was I had a few thoughts about what I would like to create, and I had a customer who had a problem, so I just sat next to him and we created this stuff. And what I created was, first I created some simple applications, and then I thought, well, I should have a small framework like every small talker does after a while, and I created a few frameworks, and actually it's hard to see. Now it's gone. So, I can't see my mouse. Where is it? Ah, there it is. So actually, I'm in this software now. It's, well, don't have that much presentation software. Don't use it anymore. So, actually, the software is used inside the company. So there's an intranet kind of application, and I thought, well, let's make this news item usable to tell you what it is. And what it is I'm using Faro now. I started out Squeak. I don't know why I switched. I couldn't really follow the discussion, but I just thought, well, everybody's going Faro. Let's do that. Then I'm using a setup with Apache and the proxy in front of it, and several images which I kind of keep together and do some stuff on it. So I'm creating my own infrastructure, as one of the first speakers in this conference was telling, which is actually quite nice, but well, takes a little while. Then the framework itself is, well, it's everybody's using the word framework, so just a set of classes, whatever, and I use to create my applications, and it's getting there. It's more and more useful. Creating the applications using the framework. What I do is I use GrowUp now for persistency. I really wanted to use an object-oriented database in the beginning because I had that before, and I really got used to that. But the ones I use, and that's actually several years ago, so maybe if I would do it again, I might come back to the choice. But I started off using Magma. I had a small production system using it, but it was a pain in the ass. Then I used Goods, which was quite fast but difficult to use. And then I had OmniStore. That's the only one I didn't hear yet, which was actually quite nice, but had some issues on Linux, and I'm only using Linux, so that was a problem. And then I stumbled upon Glob, or Stumble. Everybody was writing about it, and I started using it, and it worked. It worked quite well. It was an ORM, of course, and but for a business application, that's not a big problem. I mean, it's easy going. And I didn't use too much of it, so I could easily switch if I wanted to. And actually, I never switched because it works fine for me. And then I built all this stuff around it. So you have this plain old Smalltalk object. I'm decorating this on class side and instance side with all kind of meta descriptions just to create my business objects and my UI. So actually, the framework enables me to create business applications faster. And it's growing, and I'm cutting it, and I'm mostly pruning it now. It's usable at this moment. There are some production releases there. Actually, this one is kind of what they use inside this company, and it's not done by a designer. Should be much. You could make a much better looking application, but my customer says it's good enough, and he really wants me to put in the effort to create better functionality. So at this moment, I'm on the good side. Probably have to do something with design in no time. Still social. So what it does is that's the application side. It provides them with several applications, and them is in this case a Dutch company, which I was involved in the beginning. They started off with 10, and then now we're 115 at this moment. Still counts, so probably 120 when I come back. So what I do with it is worksheet management, client management, employee management. I have to look there because I can't see the quality management, the internet, the public website. Actually, they do it. They use this software nearly for everything, and it's working fine for them. So I'm happy with that, and they're happy with that. And what they do, well, it's all Dutch. That's something you probably noticed because it's difficult to read. I don't have a translation yet. I'm into finding out how to do this an easy way. I had some people telling me how you could do it. So, and my mouse, where is it? there it is. I'm not going to show all the details how it works, but essentially it's like most business applications. You got a list of objects, and you select one, and then you do some business with it. And I started off doing most these kind of things, which is on this screen is actually very difficult to read. And they wanted this text to be underneath it. This makes it unreadable for me, but they find it very handy. So customer's king, so I did that. And then they have something which is, I'm not going to say what it is because it's very it's a quotation for a new client, and they keep all the information they want about this quotation in this object. And they have a workflow around it. And actually the workflow is something I find very difficult to use, but my users really like it. It's the thing where what I would do is go to this object, because there's a new quote, and I'm going in, and I create the quote and enter all the data, and do my actions. What they would like to have is a list when they come in. So actually what I'm doing is, what would like to do is search for work. That's what the navigation paradigm is. If you reach the objects, you're just searching for work. And what they would like to do is that the computer tells them what to do. So please provide me with the work I have to do today. And that's the workflow thing I made, which is work items. And then we have several flows, and in this demo I only have two, but there is a graph presentation, and like my normal application, it doesn't look very nice, but it's actually it's a Petri net underneath, and I'm executing the Petri net to do the business workflow. And using this diagram, well, in a little different state, this is at this moment generated from the system. And they were easy at the beginning, but incrementally, in the agile way, they're starting to get complexer and complexer. And the nice thing is that you only change the workflow. And I do a little program to make every step possible, and in the end, we have a working system. And they still understand what the system does for them, and that's actually very nice. So it's all Dutch, so I can't say, but you can see that the workflows are getting more and more complex, and there are all kinds of things in there. And while developing it, it was not only the step trick, but you can do the resource allocation, and you can step back in a workflow, and you do all those kinds of tricks, and that works very nice. So, and then the other thing is that the work items, because I still don't like them, you always can do the other way around. So you go to the object, and then you see the work items that are in this context. Yeah, okay. So actually that's what I did, so thank you very much.
And last presentation from, if I am pronouncing right, Hua Yong O with Tuldat.
Hi, since I'm a new face here, so many people ask who I am and why I'm here, so I decided to make a short introduction of myself. And I'm going to do it a little squeak way. So my name is Hwa Jong-ho, and I am Korean, and I'm a hobby small talker, and I'm an iPhone developer, and I make money out of it. And this is my first time in Europe, and it's my first time ESUG. And it won't be first time next time. as a hobby small talker, I sometimes using porting small talk into and I want to be a professional small talker to make money out of it. Since currently iPhone market is very well in Korea, but later on it will be a red ocean. So for insurance, I want to have those skills. So, and to do that, I need ESUG. And ESUG is way up there, so it's dragging it all up. I didn't expect that. So that was my introduction. Right now, I have projects called ToolDad and Montyboot, which is very simplified version of Metacello. And there's Small Talk Quiz and Lazy Rabbit and Morphophysics and Pocket Cube, and these are all in Squeak source. And Pocket Cube is not on Squeak source yet. And today I'm going to talk about these projects. I'm going to give you an option. ToolDad is a little geeky one, and Small Talk Quiz is a little embarrassing one. And Morphophysics is the tool that you're looking at. So which one would you choose? Well, picky one, okay. So I'll go with ToolDad. ToolDad is something that picky one, I told you. Smalltalk has tools. Very main tools are inspectors and browsers and workspaces. And what I want to do was to use all these tools have capability of drag and drops. Drag and drop saves keyboard if you want to use only mouse, and it saves global variables. How many times you have been debugging and want that in your workspace? And you have to remember to delete that global variables. It's a little annoying. So I thought it would be very nice feature to have. So I made it one. There's a little there's object called where is it? Flasher. So if you inspect this, the color becoming red and yellow is I implemented that so I can easily identify which one is which. I want to make this flashing flasher, a red flasher, into a yellow flasher. What I do is that I drag and drop this yellow color. It says color yellow, and I'm going to drop it to on color there. And if I do that, it changes to yellow. If I would have done this in other way, I would usually say this temp color and say color, and then I'll have to delete the temp color. But I think this would be more elegant way to do. So this is one thing. Inspector 2, inspector drop, drag and drop. And the next one is workspace to workspace. Say that you have 100 factorial, and if you want that to be in this place, I would think that 100 factorial is a very complicated, time-consuming operation, and you want that object on the other workspace. I would do like where is it? Transfer it. I made a menu called transfer it. And this 100 factorial thing stuck up into my mouse, and it can be, sorry, I made a mistake. I should have done this first. Okay, I need an option turn on, and then transfer it. If I drop it, it'll ask for me the variable, and is there. So I can do a little more tricks, like if I inspect this workspace, and then if I drop this into there, and I call this mean. And if I say rotate it by, what is that? Okay, move by. That'll be easier one. I think I forgot how to do it. I prepared for this case a screencast. This is what I was trying to do. This wasn't. I've demonstrated this already, and where is it? Oh, this is one. I can verify what I've done mistaken. So because the mouse is still, because I'm narrating on Korean word, I'll move it fast. There's me variable in the side of the workspace, and I'm typing in my label to toolbed, and the title has changed. And me extent, I got the extent, I changed the extent, and I changed the heading. So also the answer was heading. Okay, yeah. This kind of geeky thing is possible, and I find this very convenient to use the screencast. So I'll just move on this style. Okay. Use Xcode. Xcode in iPhone development is very an elegant tool when you connect the tools, and the interface builder take care of every event handling stuff. So I tried to mimic that. What I did is open inspector for a rectangle and open inspector for slider. And what I did was drag the rectangle into the target of the slider. And then I changed the min-max value, and then set value selector. It's still nil. What I'm going to do next is open up the browser for the rectangle morph, and then from the browser I drag and drop the width setter, which is also drag and drop operation to save keyboard typing. And I'm going to drag and drop into the value selector, and it changes to width. And then I think everything's ready. I change the slider, the rectangles, width changes. Yeah. Okay, guess it's